Welcome to part 1 of my How to Improve as a Trio series. You will learn absolutely everything about trios in this series, but today we're going to be talking about trio practice routines. But in the next episode, we will be talking about how to get kills endgame as a trio. And just so you know, I am a Fortnite coach, so if you want to improve at Fortnite as fast as possible, definitely subscribe for more videos like this every day. The number one thing about building a practice routine is understanding the roles. Every role has its super strengths. For example, an IGL's super strength is map knowledge, game sense, leadership, and tarps. And then on the other hand, you have a Fragger whose real strengths are mechanics, piece control, awareness. And what I mean by awareness, okay, this is what differentiates a Fragger from a W keying psychopath who has no clue what he's doing. Awareness is basically when your Fragger is in a 1v3 situation, he might have one knocked. He might have cracked both of their shields. But he understands this is a 1v3, even though I'm the most cracked player in this lobby, this is a terrible fight, let me back away. Let's not risk the whole game over a few kills when we could, play a bit more passive and get placement or find a better fight, or even just wait for my team to back me up before I jump in a box with 3 people. That's what a really good Fragger would do. And then on the other hand, you probably have the most hardest role to play in the game, and that's support. I give a salute to all my support players out there, and I want to explain why it is the hardest role to play, and you need to understand where I'm coming from. So your support, what is support? Support is backing somebody up, but it also means that, for example, if your IGL dies, your support player needs to know how to play as an IGL, because who's going to IGL? Hardly a Fragger. He still has a job to do, so your support needs to take that role, and vice versa. If your Fragger dies, your support needs to know how to frag out and get kills and take orders from your IGL. So now you're in a situation where your support actually needs to know both practice routines and kind of blend them together to make an all-round well-balanced practice routine. And that's what I'm going to be showing you throughout this video as I go through each role. So what you need to understand is we're going to have to do a kind of timestamp system. So we will talk about IGLs first, then the Fragger, then the support. And I will warn you though, if you skip, you will lose a lot of information that will help you no matter what role you play. But there are timestamps if you don't want to watch through every role, so please do what you want to do. Now let's start off talking about the IGL practice routine. So as an IGL, the most important part to understand is that you need to know all of your team members' weaknesses. I'm going to give you an example right now, okay? So imagine you're dead. Your whole team is dead and it's just Timmy alive. Timmy is in an FNCS game. It's late game, but you know Timmy plays console. So therefore he's on 60 FPS, but it's an FNCS lobby, which are super laggy lobbies. So he might as well be on 30 FPS. So you know he's lagging and he's about to go for a 1v1 pick. It's another solo and it looks like a fair fight, but you understanding Timmy and you understand that he plays console, that means he doesn't have enough frames that if the guy he's fighting is on a PC with 140 frames in game, he will lose that fight. So it's your, I guess, as an IGL responsibility to understand everybody's little pet peeves like that. You need to know all these mini details to be able to guide them the right way when you're given comms endgame. And you should also study Fortnite for about an hour a day. And yes, I did just say study Fortnite for an hour a day. And I recommend doing it the last thing before bed. It's a great way to relax, but it's also a great way to pick up information. You're going to watch some Fortnite videos anyway. You might as well be taking some mental notes. And also, I will give you 10 respect points if you also have a pen and pad taking notes that you can read over first thing in the morning, because it's actually proven that it will solidify your memory. So what I'm telling you to do is watch some videos on late night, which will stick in your memory till you wake up, and then read what you wrote down and you will understand it a lot more, because it's like learning the same thing twice and it will stick in your memory. And therefore you're not going to run into situations where you don't know what the solution is, and that's your responsibility as an IGL. I will also give you another 10 respect points if you like the video, because I'm putting a lot of time into making it and it would really help it reach more people. So thank you so much for doing that. A great way to learn about making decisions is to watch a lot of Vod reviews. And I have to promote myself again by letting you know we make the best Vod reviews over here. I really need Naughty Squad to have my back right now and go down into the comment section and let everybody who's new on this video know that we actually do have the best just all-round information on YouTube, and I would appreciate that so much. Let's keep the video rolling though. Here is why 90% of practice routines just don't work, and it's because you start off saying I need to improve my mechanics. But you need to be more specific than that, because mechanics is anything from building to editing. And even if you were to be a bit more specific and say, I need to improve my editing, editing has a whole list of things that you need to work on. I'm going to give you an example. You have editing. Then within editing, you've got piece control. You've got your library of box fight exploits that you keep on hand to phase into other people's box. Along with that, you have a whole library of peaks. So that way you know good right hand peaks to take, Dorito peaks. You keep a library of them stored in your mind to use when you need to. On top of that, you have your editing speed that you need to work on. You also have your editing precision. And then you've got your click time. And so there's a whole category of shit that you need to work on. You can't just say, I need to work on editing. You need to realize, okay, do I need to work on my editing speed today, or my editing precision? Or maybe it's just something as simple as my click time on my mouse. You really need to just knuckle down and understand what you need to improve at. And the best way to do that is through Vod Reviews. But I'm not here to talk about Vod Reviews today. You know we do them on the channel. So I'm going to keep it rolling and give you a list of things you need to master that can be improved in-game with practice. So this is very simple, okay? As an IGL, these are things you need to perfect and master. You need to perfect high ground retakes. And what I want to explain is not just those phase sway high ground retakes. I mean, knowing when height is low, okay? Knowing when you can take it, making sure your whole team knows you are taking it, and then making sure your whole team knows how you're taking it. That's real important. How you're taking height, the method you use to take height. Are you going to crank? Are you going to pad and then maybe two guys crank? Are you going to, use peppers? There's different methods, and I will be making another video about that, and that will be the next episode to this playlist. So if you're not subscribed, definitely do that right now. You also need to know how to tarp endgame, okay? And I don't mean just straight tarps. I need you to understand. You need to know when to drop layers, when to go up layers, when to move to the right. If you're above water, make sure that you're not tarping directly above somebody else, because if you get shot down, you're going to land on their builds and you're going to die. And if you're over water, you can just avoid that by moving one layer to the left and tarping above water. And I've done this multiple times in tournaments. You've seen me if you've watched the live streams when we're playing tournaments. We do that all the time. I also want to make a quick announcement. At the end of every tournament from now on, we're going to be VOD reviewing all our perspectives of maybe one of our best games or our worst game. So definitely stick all the way through when we're live streaming the tournaments here on YouTube, because we'll do VOD reviews at the end of it. And don't worry, if you can't make the tournaments, we will be uploading probably the best sections of the VOD review up to YouTube for you to watch and not have to sit there through the whole live stream. But with that again, you also need to understand endgame tunneling. It's different from tarping. You need to understand what layers are good and how far away you should be from other opponents. That's real important, because it's very important. You could play the whole game and you could make it to endgame every time. But if you don't know how to tarp, how to tunnel, how to perfect high ground retakes, it's all for nothing. You need to understand that, and it's probably one of the most important parts of the game. And even yet again, when you take high ground, you need to perfect your long range AOR aim, okay? I'm going to have some clips in the background while I explain this and why it's important. It's because pads are in Season 7. Anybody can pad to height. Anybody can crank to height. But you have an insane long range AOR aim. All you have to do is knock one player out of the air or beam a few of them out of the air. And I'm not saying it's easy to do, but it's not impossible either. I've done it. Like I said, the clips are in the background that you can be watching. It's very important that you do that. If you knock one player on a team, the whole team will back off because their health is griefed. And then they're going to be split. And then later on in endgame and moving zones, you can find free picks because their team is going to be so scattered that it's just free kills. And that is really the definition of outplaying your opponent. It's also your responsibility at keeping your team together off spawn and endgame, keeping a tight formation. And I point out in one of my recent VOD reviews why keeping a tight formation is the most important thing in trios. I'm not talking about that today though. So let's move on to the best way to actually do all of that stuff and practice it. And that's in Zone Wars. Something simple. Like I don't even need to say anything else. Zone Wars is the best place to practice everything I just said. So let me go over it one more time. Perfecting high ground retakes. Zone Wars is really good for that. Endgame tarps, really good for that in Zone Wars. Endgame tunneling, do that in Zone Wars. Your long range AOR aim can be perfected in Zone Wars because there's pads in it. So you get me? You can practice it all in one mode with your trio. Play trio Zone Wars, and I will have a code in the description, maybe on screen right now, for the best map in like trio Zone Wars. It's called Simple Trio Zone Wars. We play them on stream all the time. So if you've no trio to play with, catch us on a stream every Thursday from now on, because FNCS streams are on Friday. So catch us on Thursday where we play with viewers and subscribers at 6 p.m. GMT here on YouTube. We play creative all the time with you boys, just putting it out there, making sure you know. Now let's talk about the Fragger practice routine. This is real important, so make sure you're listening up. The most important thing to master as a fragger is actually not mechanics or your aim, it's communication. You need to tell your teammates everything. If you're about to shit on your opponent, you literally need to communicate and say, hey, I'm about to take a shit on this guy, okay? You need everybody to know what's going on. You need to communicate everything, okay? It's real important because even if it doesn't have context, I had a guy in stream, let me just go into a story mode for a second. I had a guy in the stream the other day telling me I'm talking too much to my teammates. So Xylo was in a tarp, he was in a solo clutch, and I wouldn't shut up. I was telling him, bro, that's not a good thing, bro. I don't feel the vibes of that fight. You know, if he's hearing me, maybe he's second guessing himself, you know, maybe he's like, bro, I don't know about this fight, but I kind of need it. But then if he has my opinion backed up, like, bro, this vibe, you know, this fight doesn't feel right, you should back up. He's like, okay, if he's doubting it and I'm doubting myself, I'm going to just, you know, go with the majority. Two of us are doubting the fight. That's majority rules, you get me? And even saying simple shit like that will help your teammates. So it's important as a fragger to communicate everything because you're going to end up splitting from your trio a lot. And that's natural as a fragger. That's what you have to do. But when you're in a situation, you need to tell your teammates that, hey, I need your help. Like 10 steps ahead, you need to realize, oh shit, I put myself in a situation that I'm going to die in. I need my teammates' help. And you can't do it like I'm dead, you know, you get knocked by a pump and then be like, boys, where are you? It's too late then. You need to let them know before you die, and you need to scream at the top of your lungs. I mean scream, scare your teammates, because if you scare them, they're going to know that the problem you're in is very, very real and they actually need your help. And you're not just like, oh, they're on me. You know how many times people say that in a game? They're on me, they're coming, they're over there. Like, that's not a good comm, you get me? You need to tell your opponents, they're on my wall, they have my wall, they're in my box. Oh wait, I got a ramp in. Oh wait, no, they're on my box. That's great comms, because like, if they're in your box, it's a real threat, and every good player will know, okay, they're in his box, let's go help him. You know, that's how it be. But here's a list of everything you need to master as a fragger. That's your editing speed, your editing precision, your piece control, your awareness of, you know, this is a good fight or this is a bad fight. Your shotgun aim, and your hip fire tracking. The reason why you want to have great hip fire tracking is because if you need to spray, you want to have great shotgun aim, but trust me, when it comes to late game and it's super laggy, especially for my console players out there, it's very hard to hit pump shots or tack shots. Well, tack shots more so, but that's why a lot of pros actually use a lever endgame or a tack endgame, because it's easier, the crosshairs are bigger, so it's easier to hit shots in laggy lobbies, but the pump, again, does way more damage. But hip fire tracking, on the other hand, is pretty consistent. Even if it's laggy, you can still, you know, just press your AOR up and hold the trigger down. You know, you see controller players do it all the time. Sorry boys, I had to throw that shot at controller players, but you know what I mean, okay? You get me? Hip fire tracking is important to endgame because it's more reliable than a shotgun, especially because everybody's low. 1 or 2 AOR shots might be all you need. And then you need to know unpredictable exploits. You see people do peaks like, you know, the Dorito edit and place a cone. But it's predictable. Even, you know, it's only really not predictable endgame because everybody's so tunnel vision on going forward, tunneling, endgame, taking height, that it might just catch them off guard. But when it's in a calm, relaxed, very intense 1v1 or 2v2 or 3v3 box fight, you need to know unpredictable edits that's just like, holy shit, what did he do? You know, did he just like edit a window on me? Because who does that anymore? You get me? It's unpredictable. Everyone predicts a top Dorito edit. Maybe do an unoptimal bottom Dorito edit, because why would you do that? It's a terrible edit, but your opponent's expecting you to be good, therefore it's predictable. So do stupid shit that catches them off guard. And especially when you're playing FNCS, that's some high level players. They're really skilled players, so they're used to like pre-firing and stuff. But if you do stupid shit like that, like purposely editing a door, you get me? A door and a window, why not? I'm only messing, boys, but you get the picture of what I'm trying to say, okay? And all of what I just mentioned there in that list can be improved in creative box fights. So unlike, you know, your IGL where his best practice routine is zone wars, your best practice routine is box fights. Because this is a trios practice routine, I actually recommend you to play 3v3 box fights. But I recommend finding your opponents in Discord servers, because if you matchmake, the opponents you play against tend to be washed or not as good because they just want a quick game to warm up. And it's not bad, I do it all the time, bro. It's good to just get your fingers warmed up, especially for my keyboard and mouse players out there. But when you're practicing, not warming up, you need to be able to dominate against really top tier players. So check some Discord servers. We do have a Discord server ourselves, and that is linked down below. And I just want you to know we have Nitro, and that's thanks to a beastly community. I haven't said thanks on a video for that, so if you have boosted the server, thank you so much. You're a legend. I have infinite respect for you. But playing support, on the other hand, is super tricky, okay? Very tricky, because when you look at IGL, and like we said earlier, your support has to replace those roles if he dies. So hopefully you're, picking up what I'm about to say. But your IGL's best way to improve is in zone wars. And then your, Fragger's best way is in box fights. But then your support has to play both, because he plays both roles. He has to be prepared for everything. So what I actually want to recommend to you, okay, and this is where this part of the video actually kicks in and gives you the practice routines. And I want to say, as a trio, you guys should play 1 hour of box fights first, followed by an hour of zone wars. Like I said, the codes are down below, followed by 2 hours of either arena or scrims. And right there, you have a 4-hour practice routine that caters to everybody's on the team's needs. You get me? Your IGL is going to get great practice. Your creative, your Fragger, is going to get insane practice, because zone wars does help him. It's just box fights are the most optimal way to improve as a Fragger, because that's where you're going to spend most of your time. And you can avoid build fights by going to a box. But you get what I'm saying? So when you combine the two, an hour of zone wars, an hour of box fights, the other way around. An hour of box fights, followed by an hour of zone wars, then 2 hours of either arena or scrims. And I recommend playing scrims on the weekend, because there will be a lot more scrims active, as there's more players online on the weekend, because people don't have to work and shit like that. And then when you play arena, if you're already champs, just practice W keying as a trio and keeping that tight formation I mentioned throughout this video. So that is probably the most well-rounded practice routine ever, because box fights will improve everybody's editing speed, editing precision, piece control, awareness, shotgun aim, hip fire tracking, and these were all on the list of things you needed to master as a Fragger, so that's really good. And then zone wars perfects high ground retakes, and that's important that your whole trio knows how to retake height. You get me? You can't just be your IGL or your Fragger knows how to retake height. Everybody needs to do it. It's like a coordinated attack. And same with endgame tarps. Everybody needs to know whose role is what, who's looking for picks, who's leading the tarp. You need to be, getting comfortable with splitting mats at max height, endgame tunneling, long range aim, and then just keeping your team together endgame. And they're all on the list of things your IGL needs to master. And like we said, support needs to be average at everything, but doesn't have to be perfect at anything. Okay, he's just a jack of all trades. He needs to be able to do everything. He needs to be above average at everything, but not insane. And then when you W key in arena, or when you play scrims after your box fights and zone wars, you're taking your skill from creative and bringing it into real game scenarios, which will make you improve in game as fast as possible. It's how you transition things from creative to in game as fast as possible, and that's how you improve. Everybody knows you play better in creative than in game, but why does it have to be like that? I'm giving you the smooth transition of taking creative skills, putting them in this hand, and just throwing them into in-game scenarios, and it will work just like that. Just give it enough time. There is a video on screen right now that will explain how to take skills from creative and bring them into arena and tournaments. So make sure you're subscribed with notifications on for Thursday, because that's when I drop part 2 of this video explaining how to get kills in endgame in trios.